as I'm sitting here thinking right now, it's letting me think back to my experiences and all that type of stuff. It's still existing now, and that's actually pretty sad. There's probably students now in, preschool or kindergarten that's going through it, and they may not even know it. But hopefully when they get to my age or even, sooner, that they'll be able to, overcome it as well.
Hey everyone, I'm Brianna.
And I'm Asia.
We are two students currently pursuing elementary education.
For our Institutions of Education course final project, we decided to further our thinking, knowledge, and understanding of deficit thinking and the role it plays within education. We did some research on this topic for a previous project using the internet and other sources. For this project, we decided to use actual people as our resources. We wanted to hear the thoughts and ideas of others around us. We went around our college campus and asked students and staff their thoughts on deficit thinking, specifically in education. The main question we have is, what if deficit thinking did not exist?
Join us as we explore this idea with others.
I'm Les Griffin, a freshman at UNCG majoring in kinesiology.
My name is Maisha Moore. I'm a sophomore, and my major is psychology.
Hi, my name is Carol. I'm an English and Communications major, and I'm a junior.
I'm Andrew Feldman, and I am the Assistant Director for Leader Development in the Office of Leadership and Service Learning here at UNCG.
We may have experienced it, but we may not have known the correct term to place with it.
Bias that teachers have on their students that affect how they grade or how they interact with their students.
Stereotyping or implicating biases on students depending on their race, gender, or like sexual orientation.
At the moment, I feel like I do have a better understanding of it and can think back on my own experiences and to see where it adds up.
It lowers their expectation or raises the expectation for what they want to do in the classroom, and by lowering or raising their expectation, they're going to not challenge themselves to do more in the classroom.
I definitely have experienced it. I'm Mexican, and I went to a primarily a school that had Latin American students in it, both like in middle school, elementary school, and in high school. And we were taught by usually like white teachers, and I feel like a lot of the times the teachers would look at me and think that I was mixed because I didn't have an accent. I spoke Spanish, and when we had teacher meetings, they would ask my parents if I was bilingual. They would ask them if they taught me Spanish or if I even spoke it. Then there was teachers who thought I was just mixed because I had that lack of accent. And then once we got into high school and we started learning about stuff such as immigration, I know like a lot of my teachers would turn to look at me as if I had any idea of the technicalities of it. I knew just as much as they did. And then also, I feel like because I'm a student of color and like I pride myself in my studies, a lot of teachers always like put me on this pedestal in comparison to like my white counterparts because I did exactly the same work they did, and they wouldn't expect a student of color to, I guess, be on the same level that they were. So they always would like talk about me to my parents and be like, oh, she's such a great student. Like they only had good things to say about me. And although that was like fine and great, I think it caught up with me like once I got to college, where everyone is kind of treated more equally. Mm-hmm. And it's not like the same as it used to be, I guess.
Very briefly, I used to play the violin when I was in elementary school. And in this particular school and everything, it was, it wasn't an instrument that was mostly played by people of my race. And so during the process of me being in the orchestra and everything, I would kind of notice a shift of energy whenever I would not necessarily come into the room, but when I would perform and go to different orchestra concerts. And I was placed in a very high position of playing, And I didn't know if it was because of my actual talent or it was because I was fitting this this minority-looking, diverse type of image.
The course that I took in high school, my teacher would, when we were reading, he would ask the black students on their opinion on topics that had to do with the black community. Or if there was a very short paragraph, he would ask the one Asian guy in our class to read.
I was a new teacher fresh out of college, so these kids were actually not too many years younger than me, and I definitely had my share of discipline challenges and keeping control of the class. At times, I was told by some of my girl students that I favored the boys and I let them get away with more and I let them act wild and I didn't make them, raise their hand as much. And then other times I had the boys complain to me that I favored the girls and I was always constantly disciplining the boys and reprimanding them and punishing them. So it was sort of I couldn't win either way. I either favored the girls or I favored the boys based on my expectations about how they were supposed to behave.
A figure like Martin Luther King Jr. and this expectation that we should have either already known some things about him or if we were given an assignment that involved different people within that period, that we should excel in that area. I feel as though that kind of shadows deficit thinking as well, because yes, I am a part of this race, a part of this culture, but there's only so much that I know. So just expecting that I should know certain things is actually a hindrance to certain parts of me being informed and gaining that knowledge about my history, my culture.
Without deficit thinking in education, teachers would challenge all their students to be at a higher standard, which would cause students to work harder and would also boost their confidence.
But we wouldn't presume, that person, is wearing a hoodie and they come from an inner city and they're probably not going to be able to achieve as much as this person from the suburbs who, is wearing a collared shirt.
Honestly, I just wish deficit thinking didn't exist, period. I know that kind of sounds like a straight up blunt answer, but honestly, if it didn't exist, period, I probably would have been more comfortable with performing in, the class environment I was in.
I feel like if deficit thinking didn't exist within the education system, students would have equal opportunities to do the same thing.
I think if teachers and educators and administrators got past deficit thinking, they would maybe give more students that they make assumptions about a chance to succeed and thrive.
I feel like if they were challenged a little more, like their counterparts were, everyone would have like an equal opportunity to do well in school.
If we were to at least be open to understanding other people's perspectives, if we were more open to understanding other people's opinions, etc., then we'll be more receptible and open to understanding things better within other people's culture or things that will help you better understand yourself.
Deficit thinking is still a problem within education. As future educators, we should take the initiative to put an end to bias, ideas, and placing stereotypes on students. Education should be an enriching experience for all students, no matter their race, social status, gender, ability, or any other circumstance. After exploring this idea further, we hope to promote the same values in our own classrooms. Thank you for joining us in exploring this what-if question.
I would presume to think of this as something that teachers and administrators and those who work with students should be the ones taking the lead on, and to see students and UNCG students addressing this and trying to raise awareness of it is actually a nice turnaround in a really positive way, because I think if students can bring it on the radar and agenda for those of us who work with students, that's just all the more powerful and all the more of a significant way to get us to think about, hey, it's important to be aware of this, whether or not it's intentional or not, and it's important to consider how might we address this and change the ways in which we interact with students.